Sometimes we're feeling down in life, sometimes we're feeling up, and it doesn't really matter where you're at. Hearing somebody else's story can always be quite motivating. I found this guy on YouTube that left a cult and started to pursue his passion. He's one of the most disciplined people I've seen on YouTube, and one of the most genuine people that I've also found on YouTube. And I always respect somebody that marches to the beat of their own drums. So without further ado, B4 Flex. The man that can do handstand push-ups, muscle-ups, one-handed pull-ups, explosive one-handed pull-ups, push-ups. He boxes, and the dedication, man. You told me last time, we briefly spoke on the phone for a little bit, and he told me that he drives an hour to the boxing gym just to go box.
Let me correct you. I drive an hour for sparring, not for the gym. Just
still, that distance doesn't change.
I appreciate that, man.
And if you really think about it, it's more like 2 hours, because if it's an hour there, it's an hour back. So that just shows your dedication. And when you started working out, you were like 16, or how old were you when you initially started working out?
When I started training or boxing, or training just in general, boxing, which one?
Training in general.
I was 9 years old.
What time were you waking up?
Well, when I was 9, it wasn't that structured. It became structured when I was 12. That's when I started waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Initially, it was 4 o'clock, but then I realized, you need a good amount of sleep. So it was sleep at 8 o'clock, wake up at 6 o'clock.
Why did you pick that time in particular, that early to wake up to work out?
Well, is in 4 when I initially thought, or 6? Basically, it was just I wanted to get a workout in before I went to school. And 6 o'clock seemed logical. It seemed you can get a good 1 hour workout in. So yeah, that was basically it. The logic was this: let me get some decent amount of time, at least an hour or so, before I get ready for school. I started school at 8:30. I left the house about 8, so I'd wake up, train, get ready from like 7:15, and then yeah.
What's crazy is when you were that young and you had that dedication to wake up to get your workout in. I brought this up last time we spoke. I said most people, when they hear workout or exercise, they kind of hide from that idea. But you, at that young age, you were kind of hiding exercises and workouts from certain people because you couldn't pursue those passions. We can get into that a little bit later. I just wanted to open up and say that this man's kind of an oddity, but we're going to get into that. The first question, I just want to kind of keep it simple and ask you, what are some of your favorite superheroes or anime characters, and why?
All right. So number one, I'm gonna mention 2, right? Because I feel like keep it quite simple, especially because each one is quite a lot I like about him. So number one, I would say is Ippo Makunouchi from Hajime no Ippo. It's a boxing anime. I love this character so much. I mean, I love the anime so much because it really encapsulates boxing. But the character himself, it shows the art of embracing the suck, basically, the art of embracing the struggle. A lot of people like the glamorous side of things, but they don't really embrace every single part. There's ugly parts to whatever it is that you wanna go into. So when it comes to boxing, it's not just punching people in the face. It's not just flashy knockouts. It is the grueling training sessions. It is the runs. It is the sparring, especially sparring better people that might get the better of you. In fact, even the fights after you've done all this training, it's not just a smooth sailing fight where you're just overpowering the other boxer. It's actually quite difficult still. You still have to work really hard. You have to motivate yourself whilst you're in that ring. You get tired, you're getting punched. So this anime for me feels like it encapsulates it all. And Ippo, the character, it feels like he embraces every single part of the sport. And I think that's so important. So he's definitely one of my favorite characters. The other favorite character I have is Vegeta. All right. So I love Vegeta. He's number 2, right? He's the principal Saiyan, but he happens to be number 2 to Goku. And in fact, you could argue he's number 3 at some points when, at some points of the series when Gohan is actually even stronger than him. But I really resonate with this character because of that hard work, that push that he has. He despite not always getting there, he continues to train. Some people only want whatever their goal is if they're number 1. But some people still enjoy the pursuit and they still work hard. And then alongside that, you have his pride. He takes pride. He has an ego, basically. He talks a lot of smack. And for me, that pride is important to have, especially that pride in the fact that you put in all that work for whatever that goal is. So yeah, those are my two favorite anime characters.
I like that. There's a fine line between pride and ego. And I like that you brought that up because you're somebody that I would say you're very aware. And from watching your videos from 4 years back, I brought this up prior. You're saying that you're not the type of guy to be showboating. Like you're like, I got some nice legs, but I'm not going to be showing them off in booty
Yeah.
shorts. And then I watched your videos later on, and I'm like, this guy has been consistent in his message and what he's been wanting to do.
Mm.
But before getting into that, I want to go back to the anime characters again. Do you ever relate some of those characters to you, or do you think you take some of their attributes and apply them to your life? Because you are now boxing, and you're not only boxing people at your height. How tall are you, and how tall are your opponents?
I'm 5'9", and my opponents range from like maybe 5'11", 6 foot, all the way to like 6'6", which was like my last opponent.
It's amazing. Do you ever feel like it's a David and Goliath battle when you walk into the arena?
Uh, Not exactly, and I'll say that because um, I'm usually the stronger guy in the ring. Not usually. I've been the strong guy each of my fights. So, like Goliath in the sense of the height, but I'm not usually intimidated because I know I can take whatever artillery they've got.
That's awesome. It's the thing that people wish to develop is a sense of confidence. And I think that yours is developing really well personally. But before getting into confidence, I wanted to ask you of your workouts because you're incredible, man. The force that you're able to output is amazing. When you do your push-ups, not even push-ups, we're talking one-handed push-ups, you're exploding and getting about 2 feet off the ground. It's absolute madness. Your dunk video that you put up 4 years ago, like you said you're 5'9", and you're dunking basketballs like no problem. So I was wondering about your workouts. With someone with no workout experience, what would you say your exercises and your workout plans mainly consist of?
So my personal workouts, not like the plans that I sell, mainly consist of plyometric and ballistic training. So explosive movements. More time when people train, if you're doing like a normal resistance training, you don't accelerate past a specific point and you kind of slow down at the end of the movement. But I like to continue to accelerate, keep everything explosive. So that's the highlight of my training. And pretty much the only parts that aren't explosive tend to be just injury prevention. You know what I mean? Or if I can't do it explosively because of my environment. So like explosive pull-ups, I love explosive pull-ups, but I have to do weight pull-ups because I've got a low ceiling, if you know what I mean. So yeah.
Yeah, he's actually adding weights on his body so that he can weigh himself down so his jumps he won't be hitting the ceiling. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The output that you're able to put into your plyometric exercises, if I guess you would say.
Yeah.
It seems like the mass majority of individuals would lean towards bodybuilding or powerlifting, something other than what you're doing. Why did you choose this path of exercise?
Well, I mean, I dabbled into bodybuilding like at like 2 points in my life. One was primarily when I was a kid. I wasn't able to do any jump training, any sprint training because I injured. I think I pulled my hip flexor, like the muscle. And so I wasn't able to train anything with like legs like that. So I still wanted to train. So I ended up doing like delving into bodybuilding. And actually, I only went into it because I actually thought bodybuilding was strength training, believe it or not. I thought, they're getting big. Of course, they're training to get stronger. I couldn't understand the notion of just training for appearance. It just never resonated with me. So I dabbled into that. And then once I realized, wait, this isn't to get stronger. Like, I want to get stronger. I don't want to just look good. I want to be strong. Like, I couldn't care less about my aesthetics. I then delved into strength training. The only other time I went back into bodybuilding was when I was like 18 for like 3 months. I hadn't trained for a while and I went back into training and I tried bodybuilding. I was like, let me just build my muscle back. And I hated it. I ended up just going away from it again. It just doesn't appeal to me. The idea of training for looks and aesthetics, it doesn't appeal to me. I maybe I just don't focus on looks in general. I focus more on what my body can do. I feel like it's a more fulfilling way to train. And also it drives me more. When I wake up in the morning and I go to train, the motivating thing for me is not the idea of looking good. You know, the motivating factor for me is the idea of getting stronger, of getting more powerful, of getting fitter or whatever it is. So I prefer ability over appearance.
I like that. The skills that you can do today, they're impressive, without a doubt. Would you attribute the results to hard work, talent, or a bit of both?
I say a bit of both. It depends on the skill. Like if you mean like calisthenics, front levers, planche, push ups, almost muscle ups, one arm pull ups. It's a mix. You know, the front lever, that's just hard work because my core wasn't that strong. Handstands, hard work. I mean, it's not that hard, but you know, the work that it took to get there was hard work. I've got terrible balance. That's why I call my guides the foolproof guide, because my balance is terrible. So to get there was just, for me, pure work. However, like how high I jump, and my strength to do the one arm pull ups, to do the muscle ups, I say it's a mix, maybe 40% talent, I'll be honest. Maybe a bit less, but I've always been very strong, or naturally very explosive. As a kid, always, you know, I remember my auntie would always comment like, Ade, like he's so muscular, basically. Like, what's going on? And like it was just my genetics. So when I was in school, now people always take this the wrong way. They always mock it, but I promise it was because of the character. They used to call me Tigger, right, from Winnie the Pooh, right? Because he was because I could jump so high. So it was always something that was already there before I started training it. But once I start training it, of course, you make crazy leaps. So it's a mix.
Hell yeah. I'm before flex. I'm about to do a workout. What are some key components that you keep in your workout regimens? Like, what type of workout patterns do you seem to be consistently putting in your programming?
Full body. I prefer full body workouts. Like I don't like. I used to try like push pull legs. I did that for a bit, and that was cool, kind of. But I like to, because I don't just do strength. You know, I train strength, but I also do cardio. I train endurance. I box. So I prefer doing full body workouts. So yeah, you'll probably find that my workouts will mainly consist of full body compound movements, and as mentioned earlier, like explosive plyometrics and ballistic training.
That's awesome. We talked a little bit briefly about confidence in the David and Goliath scenario that I brought up. I was wondering if any of these workouts offered you more confidence within yourself.
Boxing definitely did. I'll tell you that. More confidence in any situation that would arise, of course, because you know you can handle yourself. In fact, I would say when I used to train as a kid, I had more confidence, but it was more so misplaced confidence. I thought because I was strong, I'd be able to protect myself. And then when I started boxing, I lost all that confidence because I realized that was just a facade. You know, when you box people, like you realize what really being able to fight is. And then after about a year or so of boxing, I gained that confidence back because, you know, through actually knowing I could defend myself. So it gave me a level of confidence. But yeah, I guess in general, most of my confidence comes from just being true to myself.
You're driving an hour to go spar.
Yeah.
You're driving an hour back. You're waking up early in the morning as a kid before school to go get your workouts in. You ever have somebody tell you, dude, you work too hard? Do you have fun? And what does that look like?
All right. Well, firstly, let me clarify one thing before I continue. The driving is not me though. That's my coach. All right. So actually, most of those accolades go to my coach for actually being willing to do that, because he'll drive anywhere. If they're sparring for me, he'll take me anywhere. Like he actually is an amazing person. I just want to say, but yeah, of course, yeah. Like in general, you know, my friends sometimes say, "Yo, bro, let's link up. You know, let's do something. Like let's just chill." But for me, I actually enjoy this. Like I genuinely do. I sparred this week, so we're on Thursday now. I sparred twice this week. I sparred on Monday and I sparred on Wednesday. Like yesterday, great sparring session. I just felt great. Monday, terrible sparring session. My nose is still sore. All right. But I still love it. You know what I mean? Like I still enjoy this. This gives me joy. Like this is how I gain my pleasure essentially. Like, in fact, some of the best moments with my friends, for me personally, is when we link up, we spar, and then we go grab something to eat afterwards. So for me, I actually enjoy this. Of course, I've got other things I enjoy, but more time. I'm not looking to party. That's not me personally. I don't gain my pleasure from that. Traveling, not really. It depends what it's for, but I'm not really. I don't just gain. I'm kind of cut different. Like I don't really gain enjoyment from the same thing that most people would assume you would gain enjoyment from. But food, I do want to say I do gain enjoyment from food. I'll be honest.
Favorite foods?
Oh man, one of them is ogbono or a gusi or like a mix. This is a Nigerian dish with fufu, right? That's one. I love fried plantain with spicy. I just call it like a chili sauce.
All
I
right.
love jollof rice with something called shito. Delicious. Other than that, like more foods that people can resonate with, burgers. Yo, burgers is one of the best. Like, honestly, I love a good burger, man. I'll tell you that. I love a few good burgers. And yeah, that's probably other than those African dishes, that's probably like my favorite food. Like this burgers wipe me out.
When you're growing up at a young age, you have to kind of hide certain exercises and passions that you're doing. Now, I was wondering if we could like unpack that a little bit. Why was your upbringing a little different?
Right. So my upbringing is a little bit different because I grew up in a religious cult, essentially, right? Jehovah's Witnesses, we grew up like that. Not entirely, like my father wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, but my mother was, I was, my brother and my sister, my full-blooded brother and sister were as well. And it of course that has its restrictions, you know what I mean? So there is that. Of course, also on top of that, I grew up my parents have like, they're quite strict. They're quite old fashioned in that there is no career in sports really, There's a doctor, there's a lawyer, there's engineer, nothing else really resonates with them. So it's just I guess a different mindset as well.
I saw a video that you posted when you posted leaving the JW community. And one of the quotes that really stood out for me is there's a TV, it's called JW TV, and it was posted about 3 years ago. And via quote, the narrator said
that we're living in the final part of the last days, undoubtedly the final part of the final part of the last days, shortly before the last day of the last days.
This was a quote spoke during COVID times.
Yeah.
I was wondering about how they illustrated the world and how it was going to be when you're in this community.
Mm-hmm. I'll say firstly, apologies for making an inflammatory, like using inflammatory words in case that's, guidelines and all that. So I won't, just
Sure.
But yeah, it was the worldview was essentially that it's actually really like quite. I think it will be quite hard for you to fully grasp. It was meant to be a announcement of peace and security, which are very frequently announced by world leaders, followed by a short period of peace, followed by persecution of Jehovah's Witnesses all around the world. Every religion was supposed to be banned, right, as a result. And then Jehovah's Witnesses would be the only religion that would continue to pursue their religion. And then the whole world would attack Jehovah's Witnesses. And then it would lead to Armageddon, which would be a worldwide war. And then Jesus would come and defend Jehovah's Witnesses, and everyone else who wasn't a Jehovah's Witness would die. And that was kind of apocalyptic, essentially, right? That was what I believed was going to happen. I believed that growing up, I believed that was going to happen. Before I entered high school, I thought that was going to happen. Before I finished, I thought it was going to happen. I thought it was going to happen. COVID, that was a massive, like, oh, goodness me, it's going to happen anytime now. When Ukraine and Russia, when they went to war, there was articles about it, and people kept thinking, oh, this is going to happen because they have this belief that Russia's the king of the north and Anglo-America is the king of the south. So NATO represents the king of the south. It's just this mental gymnastics. And what was thought to happen didn't happen, of course. And I mean, I'm sure they're still going to say it's going to happen. In fact, there was a time when I was 14, me and my dad were having this debate because my dad was frequently telling me, look, you can still pursue this religion as a hobby. You know, you can preach if you want, but pursue your education, take your life seriously. And I was saying, Dad, you don't understand. The world is going to end anytime. Like, it could happen this year. It could happen next year. You don't know. It could happen tomorrow. It could be anything, right? Any time. And me and my dad were having this discussion, and I remember showing him a video that was also on JWTV. That's no longer a thing, if I remember correct. It's something else now, but it was a video that they displayed basically where they explained some mental gymnastics when it comes to the Bible, where Jesus said that a generation was never going to pass away, and they twisted it and basically said that the people, the governing body members and their contemporaries will never die. Basically, the end of the world will come before them. And then if you do some thinking, you go, okay, the youngest member is probably like 60 years old. So chances are, you know, it might be no more than 30 years till this world would end. Basically, the system of things would end. As well, there was the idea that, well, God wouldn't wait till they're very incapable of moving, till they're too old to end the system of things. Of course, it would happen before then. So that was my belief, you know, at that time, 30 years from then. So I was telling Dad, look, in 30 years, you never know. Like, in 30 years, the world will end. And Dad was saying to me, well, should you sacrifice everything, your education, your future, for something that you think could happen in 30 years? And what happens if you end up being wrong, right? And it wasn't in 30 years as what happened. It was the last, like, it was basically, the idea was it could happen any single day. Like, it has, this world has 30 years tops. And obviously, that's 9 years ago. I had this conversation with my father. You know, they've been saying that for a long period of time. So that was my worldview at the time.
You spoke about this in one of your videos, that you actually only hung out with a few high school friends because you weren't allowed to. So you actually snuck out. You're being disobedient. You said a total of 3 times. And I was wondering, like, that's very impressive for anyone to have that obediency. So for somebody that was a very obedient follower and very, I would say, obedient to his workouts, very disciplined, how did you find a way to break free from this realm?
I think you saying obedience is a good word. I was obedient, yes, but I was obedient. My desire was to be obedient to God, not actually to men, basically. You know, it was to obey God as ruler rather than men. So as long as I believed that they were actually doing what God wanted them to do, that they were God's spokespeople, that they were following the direction of Jesus, I would follow them.
Of Jehovah's faithful servants making known the financial needs of the congregation. The sheer number of Kingdom Halls requires considerably more funds in the budget than in times past. 170 of such facilities. An RTO can cost from about $1 million to several $1 million each. Hence, we have another reason we need to increase our finances.
So it wasn't that hard to wake up from indoctrination when I realized that God hadn't anointed this group of people to lead. It was looking at all the flaws in reasoning. It was actually reading the Bible alone without reading their publications alongside of it. In fact, there's a scripture in the Bible, 2 Peter 3:16, where basically it was referring to Paul's letters, but it also applied it to the rest of scriptures. Basically said the scriptures are hard to understand and the wicked and unstable are twisting that, you know? And that's what the Jehovah's Witness publication was doing. So for me, simply looking through the actual Bible and breaking down the teachings that were different helped me to wake up. So it was tough to wake up, but it wasn't difficult. It was a no-brainer. Once I realized, which obviously that's the tough part because it's really hard to free your mind and even be willing to question these men, because to you, they're second in line to God, right? Or third in line to God. So you really struggle to question them. But once that question arises in your mind, you're like, you know what? Potentially they could be wrong. They could be deceiving me. It becomes quite easy. It becomes a no-brainer to think, you know what? Like I can start questioning them fully and I can go away from them, because my whole goal was never to obey those people. It was to obey God.
because of this, it caused you to not participate in a lot of events. Like one thing that you mentioned is that your high school sports teacher was really trying to get you to participate in some sports, but you'd always have to come up with some excuses as to why you couldn't participate. What were some of the reasons that you gave him?
Yeah. To be honest, whenever he'd ask, I'd put the blame on my mother. I'd kind of just say, look, my mother doesn't want me to do it. It was like the easiest way. Because whenever you explain to people, I actually had a conversation once with this guy. He was older. So me being like a freak of nature, like a lot of people knew that in school. Like when I first came into the school in year 7, so like grade 6, literally like people who was older than me, older kids was immediately saying like, oh, you're on steroids, like all that. Because it was just like a thing, right? The first sports day I participated in, everyone was watching all of that. So there was an older kid who actually asked me before, and like, what are you trying to do, bro? Like you could do anything. You just got to focus on the sport. And I said, I just want to preach. I want a regular job, and I just want to preach. And he said, surely you can't do that. And he was really puzzled. So after learning from speaking with him, when my teacher, my gym teacher, would say that to me, I would basically just say, like, yeah, like my mom doesn't want me to pursue it. Which was funny because his wife worked with my mother, right, in the nursery. So she would always, like relay what he was saying to my mother. But it was a bit easier for me to kind of like minimize the conversation by just putting it on my mother.
Throwing the mom under the bus.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
So you were kind of outcast when you were in the community, and you're outcast when you're outside of the community, because when you're in it, you couldn't participate in your passions. But then when you were out of it, you said that you're kind of disowned by some friends and family members in that community. You said that you're being shunned. This is from a quote from a video of yours. You said, I feel like I experienced my own funeral. And after experiencing the shunning, I feel like I experienced my own death. I was wondering, what effect did that have on your mental health?
It shattered it. It completely destroyed my mental health. Like, I mean, you have a few things destroyed it. It was the changing of worldview. We spoke about my worldview at the time, thinking that the world was going to end and thinking I understood everything, and then you realize you're wrong. So that you kind of go, wait, what's going on? I don't understand. You went from thinking you had all the answers to feeling lost. But when getting shunned, that felt like probably the worst wronging. Like it felt like someone stabbed me in the back and then continuously twisting the knife, like continuously, because I was isolated whilst a Jehovah's Witness, because you couldn't, for one, you can't pursue things, but that's not the reason the shunning hurt. I mean, it is because you sacrificed enough for it, but it's also because, as you mentioned earlier, I only strayed 3 times hanging out with people outside of school. I can't remember each time vividly, but like only a few times. That's it. Because you were isolating people from school. You left your schoolmates at the school gates. You didn't associate with people at school. You didn't associate with people in the outside world. Your family who wasn't Jehovah's Witnesses, you spoke to them, but you was just cordial. You wasn't really developing a relationship. So you isolated yourself from the outside world, and you only had your religious group. And then upon you leaving, you lose that religious group. It just ruins you completely, right? You have no stability. Really, it just felt like being wronged. And especially because, and this was one of the most painful parts, this probably is the most painful part, was you never chose this for yourself, like as an adult and as a well-informed person. So there was 2 people, they were like parents to me. Literally, we called them our second parents. Like we used to, like, there was like mom and dad as well, right? 2.0. They have a house somewhere in Norway, and me and my brother, we shared a room. We have a house like in their house, right? Like a room in their house. My sister had a room there as well. And it was cool. Like, there was really family. They didn't have kids of their own, so we was their kids. They knew my family before I was born, and they indoctrinated me and started, I think, studying the Bible with me since I was a kid, since I can remember. I can't remember a time they wasn't grooming me to become a Jehovah's Witness and to see the Bible from their perspective and to see the world from what they wanted me to see. So I never asked for them to enter into my life. I never asked for them to indoctrinate me. I never asked for them to push me in towards this direction. So upon me waking up as an adult now and saying, you know what I want for myself is not this, it hurt that people who I never asked to enter my life would then leave my life, treat me as though I was dead, and also encourage those who I love to do the same thing when I never asked them to come into my life. I was a kid. They came into my life. I never invited them. If I was an adult, I think I might have taken it a bit differently, but that's what really messed with me. So I became suicidal.
Two people I held so close as if they were parents. I'm going through all this and you choose to ignore me. But not only do you choose to ignore me, you choose to tell my family, urge my family to ignore me just because I disagree with those 8 men. You know, that's mad. My own flesh and blood should treat me like I'm dead.
I didn't have I didn't feel like there was any point in living. And truth be told, if I didn't have my 2 reasons that I outlined, kind of 2.5, maybe 3 reasons, I wouldn't have continued, because it just feels like being completely wronged and no justice as a result of that, or after that, if that makes any sense.
In your video, you spoke about showing up to a gym and you had a close friend and you would show up for the workout and kind of give a little head nod or try to say what's up, and they'd kind of act like you're dead. And some events you weren't even invited to that were very...
It was a family wedding, family member's wedding, yeah.
Yeah, I won't go into that, but
yeah,
I can't even imagine what having a close relationship with one of your closest family members, not being able to go to a very intimate event like that. It's definitely got a sting, to say the least. You spoke about actively working through your feelings during this time. What are some of the things that you were able to do to get through the lulls in your life?
I had a few things that helped ground me. So I had fighting. That was number one. I had something else that was like a vice. I just call it vice. It's meant to be 3 F's, but it's a vice. And then I had family, right? So number one, fighting, it grounded me so much, man. All these things grounded me, and fighting grounded me. Being in the gym, you can be all in your feelings and all here mentally, but when you're doing like one of the most physical, primal ventures, right? Like another man is punching you in the face, right? And you're trying to punch him back. You have no choice but to focus on that, right? So things like you'd go to the gym, your nose is busted. You're thinking, I don't want to get my nose busted again. What do I do? What do I focus on? You go to the gym, you get hit and your mouth's open, you didn't bite down on your gum shield. Now your jaw hurts. You can't eat for like the next week. You have to drink soup or something, right? That's what you're focusing on. You go to the gym, your ribs busted. You think, okay, I got to keep my elbows in so I don't get caught like that again. Basically, it gave me something else to focus on. It gave me something else to prioritize, right? So, of course, I didn't hide from my feelings, but I also had something else that distracted me not necessarily distracted me, but took away most of my energy, right? So I wasn't able to fully just dwell on my sadness, although I didn't ignore it. So that was one of them. The other thing is just advice. Someone actually DM'd me, said, look, you want to advice, basically, like, anything. It could be, he said it could be drinking, smoking, gaming, whatever, right? And I just deeped. I was like, you know what? That might be some good advice. He gave me 2 things. He said, do that and move out your town. I couldn't move out my town because of my gym. So I thought, but the other one, it actually worked. And that's something else that grounded me, right? I won't be vague, obviously, because I won't keep this for all age groups, but for those who actually might actually want to know, it's like friendly cardio, if you know what I'm saying, right? So that really helped as well. That grounds me, something else that gives you enjoyment. And then lastly, family. By family, I don't mean actually like blood relatives, although some of them are blood relatives. It's actually primarily your community, essentially, right? Those who you share love with. You don't have to share blood, but you share love. Obviously, my father, he's someone, he's so crucial to me, you know what I mean? So, but it's also my girl, my friends, those who, even the members of my gym feels like a family to me. A lot of the people in my gym, I've known them for years. So having those people in my life, it grounded me, and spending time with them, yet again, it allowed me to not fixate on all those depressive feelings.
Focus, community, and love.
Yeah.
I guess we didn't acknowledge social media yet. In this part, did that play any role? Like the people that were watching your YouTube channel, because you're very open and you were very honest, which was really cool about your channel is you're very transparent, and I think people see that. Do you think that also played a little bit of a role?
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, I can't completely comprehend this, but I mean, I kind of can, because I watch people on YouTube and I have them up on a pedestal. But when all this happened, you become like this little, like the child in you, the little child in the corner, kind of scared. Maybe, I don't know, you didn't do some homework, your teacher emailed home and you're waiting for your dad to come home. So, you know what I mean? Like that little kid in the corner who's just scared. I kind of became that. I felt worthless, you know what I mean? I felt like, to a degree, like, yeah, like I didn't matter. And I don't have the most confidence. I'm not the most confident person, right? A lot of people don't really know this. I'm good at putting on a facade. I did that in school. I used to get picked on in primary. So by the time I went to secondary school, I was smart at putting on a facade. So even when I was shy, I pretended not to be. I was really good at that. But I've got like no confidence, I'm gonna be honest, right? In myself. Not no confidence. I don't have the highest self view of myself, which is probably why a lot of the anime characters I gravitate towards, like, for example, Yujiro Hanma, even, or Vegeta. It's probably one of the reasons I like them, because I feel like it's something that I myself lack to a degree. So when I'd go on YouTube and people would, I mean, people hold me on a pedestal. A lot of my subscribers hold me on a pedestal, and they show like major respect that I don't show to myself. I guess it balanced out that deficit that I had in myself. You know what I mean? That low view I had of myself, and then what felt like an outside high view of myself, it balanced it out. So I was out here in my mind, and they put me here, and I got to somewhere about here, right? So that helped a lot. And alongside that, I'd get DMs from my initial videos where I spoke about it, my depression. I'd get DMs, I'd get emails, people telling me about how I helped them out, by just talking about it. And I guess it helped me feel like I owed it to them as well, rather than just owing it to myself, my girl, my father. I felt like I owed it to them as well, to like show how you can get better from this, you know what I mean? And I realized there was a lot of people who related to my experience as well. And it just, yeah. So social media definitely did help as well. Like my platform, like the people on my platform, my supporters.
I know for me personally, when I saw your video of the depression and beating depression, and your editing skills are awesome too, by the way.
I appreciate that, man.
You're always, you had like this candle going and you're focusing on boxing in the background, and then you cut to like where you're working out outside. You put a lot of effort within your videos, and I think people see that. It's not easy taking the camera everywhere, walking around different parks, putting it up in your room while working out, showcasing, and then later on you're editing the video to educate them and tell them the reasons why these exercises are more optimal than others. It takes a lot of time, man.
I appreciate that, man.
100%. When you were sharing this stuff and you're being intimate, open with your life, why do that for social media? Why show an audience parts of your life that are so close to yourselves and very personal? What prompted you to share that part of your life?
I was the emails and the DMs, man. It was people telling me, when I first made my first video I made about, so in case anyone's curious, I had a video about why I've been gone. Then I had a video of, I don't know, the following video after that. I forgot what that video was. Why I've been gone, battling depression. I had a vlog about depression, and then I had a video about how I beat my depression, or how I left when I left the Jehovah's Witnesses. The first video, I only made it to let people know, because I was inactive on YouTube for a minute, and I thought, let me just inform people, like, look, I'm just going through this, like, please be understanding. I hope you don't just stop watching the channel because I'm inconsistent. I apologize. And I just want to explain, The next one, because people were showing so much love, I thought, let me give them a little update. I didn't expect it to impact anybody, to be fair. I just wanted to be transparent. And at least this was the first time I could be transparent. Before then, I had to be quite vague because I was religious, like you kind of, I don't know, like you didn't want to share absolutely, unless you were just going to preach, you didn't share everything. So, but when I received so many DMs, like a ridiculous amount, I haven't got to every single person now, and I don't really respond to my DMs on IG. So if you guys are DMing me, that's not the best idea. Maybe emails. Yeah, I seeing the people who were impacted by the video who said, look, like, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going through this. And they'd explain in detail, a lot of them, like what they were going through. It just made me feel like, you know what, I've got the ability to help out more and more intentionally as well, because I wasn't even intentional, you know? So that's what made me feel like, okay, cool. First things first, I got to actually get better. You know, I can't I can't not be good. I've got to get better first. But then once I am in a better state, which I'm still getting better and better as time goes on. Like I'm a lot better now than I was even when I spoke about how I beat that depression, you know? And I just felt like, you know, if I share this, it will help some people, especially with understanding, like taking the 8 count, allowing myself to be down. These are things that help me. You go through twists and turns, you go through ups and downs, you know, like in your boxing journey, for example, or whatever training journey, you learn things, you know, trial and error, right? I learned that same thing with how you deal with depression, you know, even having my grounding principles, you know, those things I learned over time, you know. I've realized, okay, this helps me, this doesn't help me. Focusing on this helps me, this doesn't. Like when I'm injured, believe it or not, if I'm not able to train for like a week or two, yo, I can be like the most sad person because I'm not grounded. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm sick, same thing. So yeah, I felt basically obliged to share what has been working for me to those people, and also to show them, look, it, you know, it gets better. You know what I mean? It can get better. Of course, not saying it will always. Some people, if you're not working on actually improving it, I'm not going to lie to you to say it gets better by not doing anything, but it can definitely get better. So it was more so I felt obliged by those who told me that, or who shared their experiences with me as well.
I think now might be a good time to ask you, what do you believe your social media, what do you believe your purpose on social media is, if there is one, your purpose in life at this very moment in time? I know, I guess it's kind of different, life and social media.
Yeah. All right, man. So I'll start off with life, because I feel like that ties into social media, right? So in life, I feel like my purpose is a few things, but primarily 2 things, if I'm not mistaken. It is to realize all of my potential, you know, my fullest potential, you know, work hard to become the greatest version of me. We all have different versions of ourselves, you know, like it's like that 2 brothers thing, you know, 2 brothers grew up with an alcoholic father. One of them ends up an alcoholic, the other one ends up never drinking alcohol because both of them watched their father. They could be the same person, just alternate timelines, right? Like Into the Spider-Verse or whatever, right? So I feel like you've got a lower version of yourself, you got a higher version of yourself, and you got the highest version of yourself. You know, you got different versions. I want to become the highest version. I want to achieve absolutely everything I'm capable of achieving, in what I'm interested in. Of course, I'm sure I've got other abilities, but I'm just not really that. Like I can make good music. I just don't really care that much for it. But to basically realize my fullest potential and actually work hard to achieve that. And then number 2 is, which ties into that, is serving and sacrificing for my family, basically. And by family, again, I mean like community, of course, my offspring too, as well. You know, my father worked so hard. You know, my father came from nothing. Like people talk about coming from nothing. My father came from nothing, like completely nothing. And he worked so hard so that his children can be born and have more just from being born, if that makes any sense. So I'd like to do the same thing, you know, for my children and for my girl and for my father as well, you know, and just my family in general. So sacrifice and serve my family. Those are my purposes in life. I feel like when it comes to social media, I want to be like, I want to be not necessarily a role model, but sort of like a big brother, or like a little big brother, because you know they might be bigger than me, but a little big brother to like people who need it. You know, there was a type of person that I would have needed during this process. You know what I mean? Someone who I might have needed to, like, when I was growing up. I remember when I was at school, once we was in a lesson and a teacher basically asked, what do you all want to be when you're older? I remember I don't remember what I wrote, but I probably wrote something completely bogus that I didn't actually mean. Some people said, you know, oh, I want to be a teacher. I want to be this. I want to be that. There was about like 4 or 5 guys, like basically half the classroom of guys. They were probably 12, 13, boys. So let's just say 4 or 5. Let's say 5. 5 guys basically said they wanted to be a footballer, professional footballer. And I remember the teacher basically gave a lecture as to basically why they should give up on that and want something else, right? Because, there's 5 kids in this class. There's 8 classes in that year group. So that's 5 times 8. That's 40 people in the year group. There's like 7 year groups in the school. So that's 7 times 4T. That's 280 people. Let's just round. That's 300 people. How many secondary schools are there in Corby? Okay, cool. There's, I don't know how many, right? But let's just say there's thousands of people going for the same thing you want to do. But then how many positions are there in said team or whatever? And I remember basically her just breaking it down and basically saying, guys, want something else. Like, don't push for that. And truth be told, I only know one person from my year group who, out of those who wanted to be a footballer, who's actually actively pursuing it. And I really hope he gets there, man. But it really saddened me to think like the teachers out here saying, yo, you can't do this, you can't do that. That actually inspired me as well, because I was in year 7. So 6th grade, I was like 11 going on to 12. That's part of the reason I woke up early, because she said, look, the people who make it are the ones who are waking up, like, working out an hour before school, and I was like, oh, snap. Hey, there's someone who works out more than me. So then, of course, I would wake up early, you know what I mean, and start training before school. But I wonder if any of those kids, if they had a role model or someone who had done it from their position, I wonder if they would have actually still pursued whatever those goals were. If they had seen that there was someone who was just like them, who worked really hard and showed, look, as long as you put in the work, you can get there. So I feel like on social media, showing people like, look, especially with my boxing journey, that's why I'm showing it at such an infantile state in my boxing journey, right? I'm still getting beat up sometimes in sparring, right? I'm not even amateur champion, not even national amateur, not even regional national, not even regional amateur champion, right? But I'm showing my process. So hopefully when I get to where I want to get when it comes to boxing, people can see, look, like this is where he started at, when it comes to life, when I reach all the goals I want to reach in life, they can see, oh, well, this is where it started. So if you have a goal, right? And this is anyone, this doesn't even just have to be young kids. This could be a grown adult, because people, their dreams die, as they age, their dreams die. And I hope to be an example that, look, if you keep dream chasing, that's literally all I do. I'm just a dream chaser, right? If you keep dream chasing, you can achieve it as long as you authentically chase after that and you're relentless in your pursuit. So that's what I hope my social media can show. It can be a space where people can see, look, this is what you can do, and alongside that, being true. A lot of people on social media ain't really that genuine. It's just a sales platform. Now I understand, of course, people selling. I sell training plans, that's how I make a living, but I think you also want a level of genuinity, you know what I mean? So I also think showing that authenticity on my channel is something else that I like to provide. That's my purpose on social media as well.
Setting the bar with bar 4. It's always nice to see, I like how you put it, when somebody else does it, you kind of think, oh, I can do that too.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what you said, a role model, but you want to be that person, like a big brother, set a bar and say, hey, you can do this too. Mm. And then they go out and try to pursue their passions. I think I know why you like Vegeta now, because it seems like from that incident in school where your teacher was asking you to pick a job, and then when people were picking their passions like football or something that the teacher felt it was a little bit out of reach and shooting it down, you still wanted to pursue that. It's like, I feel like you get a little bit of a rush from being told you can't do something, and you have a little bit of something in your heart where you're like, okay, well, let me see if I can do it. It really can't be done, that I shouldn't be able to do it. Let me give it a shot.
100%. Yeah, I got that. As long as obviously it's something that I want to do as well. But if you tell me I can't do it, and I really want it, I'm 100% pursue it. Like, no one's gonna put limits on me. I won't let anyone bestow their own limits onto me. I think that's complete bogus. I think, I mean, I see it. When I first started YouTube, actually, I still remember this comment. Whoever it was that commented this, he actually said, "Oh man, we don't need more influencers. Like, stop. Like, we don't need more of it. We don't need to hear anything you have to say, blah blah blah. And I remember being like, yo, hey, yo, I'm just making videos, like relax, I'm not doing anything. But it just made me feel like, you know what, cool, like I'm definitely gonna pursue it now, you know, because you don't want me to, you know. So there's a part of me that's like, if you try, people always shut down dreams in general, right? Oh, you can't do this because of this, you can't do it because of that, you know. And I think it's just amazing to be able to prove them wrong. That's a massive. I read all types of comments, positive comments and hate comments. I might not respond to every comment, but I do read a lot of hate comments, and they drive me. Sometimes when I'm running, I'm thinking about what someone said. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
It blows my mind when people say that. I saw a video where you put a YouTube short, and somebody was commenting about the legs. They're like, you should, they said like you should focus on your calves. And I'm like, bro, he's got great legs. Like he's got thick fucking legs.
I appreciate it, man.
Dude, 100%. I got some chicken legs, but it's all right. Hey, you gotta appreciate the things that we have, and try to work on the things that we don't, and be happy with the results that we achieve when we try. Try. But I'm like thinking, when I read this comment, I'm like, there's no way he say to this about B4 Flex. I'm like, this guy is, his physique from head to toes, insane.
I appreciate it. You're gonna make me blush, bro.
Bro, you're doing, like I said, you're doing handstand push-up jumps, like you're jumping off the freaking ground. You're doing clean muscle ups, like not just with a swing, like your whole body just levitating off the freaking you're levitating, bro. The power that you're able to output. And I'm like, there's no way there's anybody saying anything about this guy. And then I went through the rabbit hole of other YouTube influencers as well, and I see people get punked all the time, and they have amazing physiques. It just seems to be a very toxic place when it comes to bodybuilding, I would say. But in terms of like calisthenics, it seems to be a little bit more open and friendly, like a community that 100%. Cares.
Yeah.
We could talk about comments. Honestly, any comments that stand out, like one or two that are good. We don't have to talk about the bads, but any comments that stand out?
What, in calisthenics or just in general?
In general. You upload something, someone gets a comment, and you're like, that made my day.
Let me think about that. Hold on. Let me think. I actually got to think about that. Hold on. Because I get a lot of comments in it. Like, I get so many comments. Sure. Ooh, like one comment. Oh, man. Now, this is someone... Whenever I return to YouTube, and like people act like I'm always gone, like it'll be like 2 weeks and I'll make another video because I'm working on a good video, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'll post, and someone will be like, the legend has returned. That makes my day, man. Because it's actually knowing that, as I said, to myself, I'm nobody. Like, to myself, I don't see myself as anything, if that makes any sense. So when I see someone tell me like, oh, you know what, like you're a legend to them, I'm like, yo, it just makes my day. It makes me feel confident. Sometimes, in fact, before I fight, I actually often read comments as well, you know, just to, because, you know, as much as I say I'm confident in my ability, I do get nervous sometimes. Not really, like I've only been nervous for a fight, what 3 times, maybe 3.5 times. But like I'll read the comments to kind of remind myself who I am, basically. I feel like my subscribers, the genuine ones, obviously you have people who follow you genuine just to hate. Like I'm sure you everyone gets them, you know what I mean? But the ones who are genuine supporters, I feel like their view of me is a realer view than my own view. You know, I feel like my own view, I'm down on myself a lot. So whenever I need confidence, I'm just reading it. I'm like, oh, you know what? Cool. I'm gonna keep that, you know what I mean? And especially the key commenters. I have a lot of people that comment like regularly. One of them, he's such a commenter. Like, we literally talk on IG now. Like he's like an online friend. I don't know him. Like, we haven't met outside of the screen, but like we talk. You know what I mean? We message from time to time. So it definitely boosts my confidence. It makes me happy, man. So that's one of them. The other one will probably be whenever anyone just, I can't say a specific person, but if someone's like, oh, like what a beast. That's my goal, basically. Like my goal in training as a kid, because obviously I wasn't looking to be a professional athlete as a kid, right? Because I was just looking to or even amateur athlete. I wasn't even pursuing anything like that as a kid. I wasn't meant to, right? All I wanted to do was be a beast. You know what I mean? Just be a hard, cold person. You know what I mean? Who just straight cold. Everything he does, he jumps cold. He's strength cold. Everything's just amazing. So that was my dream. So whenever I see that, someone just call me a beast, or that those comments stick to me. You know what I mean? Or actually, let me add one more. Third, whenever they say anything along the lines of inspiring them and it's authentic and helping them out, this is what messes me up. I wish I could read every single comment, but the only hate comments that motivate me are hate comments on what I'm doing, like in boxing. If they just hate on me in general, I don't like it. So I don't read every single comment as a result. I do read comments, but whenever I see something that negative, I hop off. But I wish I could read everything, because I do see sometimes someone comment something like, "Oh, you've really helped me out," and that makes my day. Like when they explain, like, "You've helped me through this, whatever, this rut," it makes my day. But sometimes I come back to it. Like I see it on YouTube Studio on the app, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I got to respond to whatever," but I'm doing something, so I'll forget. And then a few days later, I remember, and I can't find the comment. I don't know where the comment was. I'm searching the keywords that I think I remember, but I can't find it. So yeah, those are the types of comments that resonate with me a lot.
There's always going to be somebody, man. Haters are going to hate. Even when I upload this video, someone's going to say that edit sucks, or those interview questions sucked.
Yeah. People are always going to hate.
I'll be sitting there like, ugh, why did I ask that? No, I'm joking. I mean, maybe, who knows? But before we end this interview, any closing statements, any words of advice, words of wisdom that you'd like to give your viewers or listeners?
Yeah, if you are depressed, it's cool to be depressed, stay depressed. I'm joking, don't say depressed, but it's cool to be depressed. Just don't try to rush the process. Although I spoke about things that grounded me, like fighting, it doesn't mean you want to distract yourself entirely and not actually focus on your feelings. You have to face those feelings. You have to go through it. If you don't go through it, it's going to go through you, basically. Like, you really do need to focus on it. Otherwise, it just bites you. Prince, the one who's married to Meghan Markle, is either William or Harry. Prince, one of the, well, you don't know, you British, but basically one of the princes, one of the UK princes, right, the British princes, when his mother, Princess Diana, passed away, he didn't really experience any feelings. And then he said, like, years later, those feelings came back, and like it just like swarmed him, and it was really hard to deal with. But initially, I don't think he even cried when she died. And that, to me, obviously, people deal with death differently. But it does tell me that, what if he did really focus, like you would with a therapist, with himself, really focus and try to bring out his feelings? Maybe those feelings wouldn't have come and hit him at a later time. So I think, take that 8 count. I do want to say something else, though, something that's important to me, other than just depression. I made a video on this in the past, and I want to just reiterate this. You are a combination of your choices. Every single day, whatever you choose to do, you will become. So if every day you choose to pursue your dreams, you will eventually achieve those dreams, right? Or at least something close to the dream. You reach for the stars, you at least get to the moon, if you know what I'm saying, right? And if you don't even get there, you might end up getting to the lookout. I don't know if you know Dragon Ball Z, but there's a lookout in Dragon Ball Z. So you might get somewhere, you are a combination of your choices. Every single day that you choose to put the fork down is a day that you choose to lose weight, right? Every single day that you choose to do a push-up is a day that you choose to get stronger. So don't keep aiming at something or thinking that you have a goal, but not actually pursuing it. In every single decision you make every single day, if you're a boxer and you want to become a good boxer, every sparring session you avoid, you make an excuse, you forgot your gum shield or whatever, that's you choosing to not be the greatest boxer you can possibly be. So you're a combination of your decisions. So that's something else I do want to say.
Bar4, I gotta say thank you, man. I also feel like I'm a nobody, obviously, and reaching out to you as somebody that I see and kind of, I do put you on a pedestal, man. I saw these exercises.
I appreciate
and I'm
that,
like,
man.
I want to do the freaking handstand push-up. So now my main focus is these skills, and it's led me to awesome other channels too, like Nikki Lyon and Cobra Trains is another guy, and it's so vast, the world of calisthenics, working out in this realm, but your mentality is freaking awesome. From the very start, for me reaching out to this guy, we had a post talk or a pre-talk, and kind of to get to know each other. And I think we even spoke twice as long as we've spoken on this interview now.
Yeah.
And it was a great chat. Before ending this, I want to say that I'm Rocky Balboa. I'm supposed to be Rocky Balboa because this is in honor of B4. He's a boxer. Guy is a beast. You should follow him if you have not, if you're on my channel. But Rocky Balboa is kind of who you reminded me of, because it's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how you keep pressing forward and how much you can take and just keep continuing to do the things. Because like B4 said, if you continue to do those things that you hold very true, very close to yourself and that resonate within you, you start to become that person. And I truly believe that. And I felt that through your channel and your video of overcoming depression. And that after I saw that video, I was like, I'm reaching out to this guy. I want to create him an interview. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, man, for giving me the opportunity to talk to you, somebody that I heard up here.
Don't thank me, bro. I appreciate it. Like, it's my pleasure, man. I will say, man. I seen your channel. It's just cool. I can't wait to see what you'll keep doing, man. I hope you keep pursuing this, man. So yeah, man, it's all good, man. Don't thank me. It's cool. Like, Jamie, I'm just grateful to have this conversation.
Thank you. You're watching Mission Muscle Up and B4 Flex. We'll catch you on the next podcast. Until next time.
Yeah.
Dude.